But not every law that National Socialism passed had to be obeyed. And that is the pattern for all of the righteous and all of the believers and all of the born-again community seeking Yahuwah and not man throughout the ages. Verse 2, Romans 13:2. Whoever therefore resists the civil power, underline those words. Notice that Rav Shaul, Paul the Apostle, is not talking about laws. He's talking about resisting authority and government. But remember, government is endued with power from Yahuwah and granted its power by we the people. So government and the people should be in one accord. Government should never rule over the will of the people. Government is the expression of the will of the people. You follow me? Government is the direct expression of the will of the people. Whoever resists the civil power, verse 2, Romans 13:2, resists the ordained institution of Yahuwah, and they that resist the ordained institution of Yahuwah will receive judgment, mishpat, on themselves. As born-again believers, we are not to resist or disrespect the ordained institution of government. Why? Because the ordained institution of government is a representative of the will of we the people. We police them. They do not police us. Of the people, by the people, and for the people, Lincoln said, shall never perish from the face of the earth, in the Gettysburg Address. The government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Got it? By, for. Shall never, and yet it has perished, not only from the face of the earth, but from the very United States of America. According to Romans 13:2, we are to obey the civil authorities. You and I need to learn, if we're going to be true and faithful to Yeshua and to the kingdom first, and to the Malchut HaShamayim first, we need to learn how to obey the authority without obeying the laws all the time. I'll say that again. We need to learn how to obey the authority without necessarily obeying every law. You can't obey the authority like Dr. King did. Dr. King paid taxes. Dr. King raised his family. Dr. King conducted himself within the freedoms of the United States, but he broke those laws that prohibited him from having his personal freedom, which were also ruled to be unconstitutional eventually. So we need to stand up, just like Dr. King did, whenever our freedoms are being curtailed or are being hindered or are being challenged in any way. We need to learn how to obey and submit to the authority without jumping off of bridges. When they tell us, jump, we need to be good citizens and obey the authority, Romans 13:2, not to resist the ordained institution, not to resist the ordained civil power, not to resist the ordained civil authority, but also how not to submit to their authority when they tell us to jump off a bridge or kill Jews, or tell us to harm other citizens, or when we see government prohibiting the freedom of our fellow citizens, or when they tell us we cannot marry within the guidelines of Torah. We are not to listen to them. I'll say that again. When they tell us we cannot marry within the guidelines of Torah, we are not to listen to them. When they tell us we must pay taxes, we must. If you don't pay taxes, you should go to jail because you're resisting the authority. That's why Yeshua said, render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's, and unto Yahuwah the things that are Yahuwah's. So we must learn, we must be mature enough not to believe, well, that catchphrase, why is it a catchphrase? It's designed to catch you into the lies of the devil so that you and your wife or wives can go to the state and ask them to enter into a polygamous third-party relationship with you, where now it's your husband and your wife and the state. And if the state doesn't like the kind of sex that you like, they can come into your bedroom and call it sodomy, and they could arrest you right in your house, right in your bedroom. These are the actions, these are the manifestations of not the United States of America, but of a police state and unconstitutionally propagated opinions that were reinforced by other unconstitutional opinions to reinforce the first illegality. Now, I don't know where you are right now. Personally, every time I think about these things, and about our freedoms being liberated, I get upset. It's only the Ruach HaKodesh that is keeping me calm right now. Because otherwise I'd jump through that camera. I'll do something. I'd do something that I was sorry for later on. I mean, as Bible believers, we're supposed to rejoice when justice reigns, and we're supposed to be indignant and zealous when unrighteousness prevails. So when the government tells us that we cannot marry and breed, and we cannot be a faithful father to 5 children, only to 2, or we cannot be a faithful husband to 3 wives or 4 wives, or women who are single who need fathers for their children, single mothers. We can only be good fathers to one wife, to the children of one wife. But if another woman has needs for her children and they need a father, no, we can't do that, even though our Yahuwah says we can. We must learn how to tell the government to take a hike. However, in other areas where the government does not violate or disallow what Yahuwah allows, we must obey the governing power and respect the institutions ordained of Yahuwah. As believers, we need to begin to learn to discern the difference between obeying the authority structure as a whole, ordained by Yahuwah to avoid anarchy and chaos, as opposed to robotically obeying every single decree that a human civil authority chooses to enact. So I'll say that again. We must learn to obey the authority structure ordained by Yahuwah without robotically obeying every single decree the authority chooses to enact, such as killing babies and homosexual unions. So if the civil authorities, like most believers, twist the scriptures in Romans 13, if the civil authorities say that every man must marry another man, and every woman must marry another woman, and you can only have 2 children. If you have a 3rd or 4th child, I don't know how 2 women would have a child, but let's assume they would. You can only have 2. You'd have to murder the 3rd, like they do in China with the girls. What happens if the state of South Carolina told you that the only marriages that they would license from now on are women with women? Forget about gay marriage, just the only ones. If the same civil authority told you the only marriage that they would sanction from now on were 2 men, sodomites, and then they would only be allowed to have 2 children, the 3rd must be killed and aborted. Of course, that's ridiculous, because last time I checked, 2 men cannot have a child. That's the point. That's the whole point. If and when a specific law or decree violates Yahuwah's word and the Creator's allowances and standards, which it clearly does in these illegal, unconstitutional, anti-plural marriage legislations, we must disobey that. We must, we should consider. Like Dr. King said, we must be radicals for love. We must be radicals for truth. We are required by Scripture to disobey those laws which abort the seed of Israel. You didn't hear me. We are required to disobey any man-made law, statute, or decree whose goal and whose underpinning, whose underlying purpose is to abort the seed of Israel. And that's what all these alternate lifestyles that the government allows. But the propagation of the seed of Israel through biblical marriage is what Satan does not want to see happen, does not want to approve, does not want to allow. And that is why you need to stand with those who stand for biblical families. Love them, pray for them, support them, send them finances, because the devil wants to shut them up. The devil wants to shut every one of them up. The devil wants to shut me up. So that injustice can rule. So Romans 13 tells us to obey the governing authority. But when Hitler tells you it is now legal to kill Jews, you don't do that. When Adolf Hitler told you had to pay your taxes and put your garbage out for pickup, you took your garbage and put it out for pickup so that unsanitary conditions and decay would not set in. We have to learn how to obey the authority and